You're watching Reality Check. This is not a he said, she said show. It's the show, probably the only show where we do the hard research, the deep dives to uncover, to expose, to challenge the official hype. Tonight, it's been 5 days after the centre's ill-considered attempt to ban beef through the back door. And already the new rules are flailing. We uncovered some of the most glaring loopholes in the new rules last night. And tonight, more gaps in the official version. But before we come to that, the Madras High Court today stayed the new rules for 4 weeks, setting the stage for more legal challenges. Now to our exclusive news break. Now, since the orders were passed, since the government passed those orders, they have struggled to explain the rationale behind the ban on the sale of cattle for slaughter at animal markets. They've fallen back on two things. One is a Supreme Court order of 2015, which asked for guidelines to be framed to prevent the illegal smuggling of cattle into Nepal. And they've also referred to a parliamentary committee report released earlier this year, which supposedly has found large-scale illegal cow slaughter in cattle markets. Let's listen to a senior cabinet minister saying as much.
With the larger intent of preventing cruelty to animals, these rules were notified in the backdrop of some observations made by the Honorable Supreme Court and a Parliamentary Committee of Home Department on preventing cruelty to animals and breaking nexus in animal markets, including smuggling. That was the observation. However, subsequently some issues were raised in different quarters.
All right, now let's look at each of those instances that the centre has referred to justify the ban, starting off with this particular Supreme Court order. So we actually dug out the order and we found that there is absolutely no reference to any kind of national cattle sale ban. In fact, what the order says is up on the screen. It says that as far as the regulation of Pashu Hats or animal markets is concerned, rules may be framed to regulate cattle markets, ensuring that healthy cattle are being sold only for legally authorized purposes. So all it's saying is that cattle markets should function legally. The sale should be legal between buyer and seller. And since slaughter is permitted legally, it's unclear from this how the centre extrapolated the idea of a national beef ban. Now, the other document or the other reference point for the centre was a parliamentary standing committee on home, which was headed by P. Chidambaram, the former Home Minister and Congress leader, which came out just about a month ago. Now, we looked at that committee's report as well, and we have its key finding here. It's a 53-page report, and it doesn't have anything to do with cattle slaughter. It just has to do with borders, how to better police India's borders. And there's only one reference to cattle slaughter, and that also is up on your screen. And what does that say? It says essentially that it's very unhappy with the West Bengal government's dealing of illegal cattle trafficking into Bangladesh. And so it asks for a crackdown on any illegal cattle hearts or markets along the Indo-Bangla border. And it also says that it recommends rather that if there's any training happening, any trading that's happening near the border, any cattle hearts that are near the border, they should be brought in 15 kilometers into the interiors. Once again, no reference at all to any sort of suggestion for a national ban on the sale of cattle for slaughter. So those two almost you could say pillars on which this entire decision has been taken are beginning to look very, very wobbly indeed. Joining me tonight to debate this is Syed Zafar Islam, spokesperson for the BJP. Thanks for being on the show with us. Mahua Moitra, leader of the TMC, joining us from Kolkata. Manu Sundaram of the DMK from Chennai. A. Sampath, Lok Sabha MP of the CPM, joining us from Trivandrum. And we're also hoping to get on the phone N.G. Jayasimha, former member of the Animal Welfare Board. But starting with you, Syed Zafar Islam, if you'd just like to comment on what we've shown you that essentially the two arguments, the two bases of this entire ban that you brought in don't suggest that at all. Don't suggest any, there's no reference to, you know, a ban on slaughter for sale.
First of all, there is absolutely no discussion or no comment or nothing of that has been mentioned that the cattle has been banned. So there is no question of even discussing about the ban. The only thing which has actually come through this notification is to regulate the market, regulate the cattle market, because
sorry,
as
you have banned the sale of cattle for slaughter in animal markets. You have banned that. In animal markets, you ban the sale of cattle for slaughter, and as a justification, as we just heard Mr. Venkaiah Naidu said, you referred to a Supreme Court order saying it's on that basis, and it's on the basis of a Home Ministry report. As we've just pointed out, neither of those two have asked for any ban on the sale of cattle for slaughter in animal markets. Go ahead.
No, see.
So on what basis then have you brought this ban?
Srinivas, that ban is, you have to see in the right perspective this notification. The notification is primarily aimed at regulating the market. Secondly, the ban on only for the slaughterhouses to source from the mandi, because there was many instances that we have observed that the and it is not from now, it is even the previous government was discussing about it, that the cattle are being smuggled to Bangladesh and other countries like Nepal, and that is the basic crux of this notification is
how
that
many
we
such,
want to
can you
regulate,
give me a number?
We want to ensure.
Can you give me a number? When you say that there have been instances, can you give me a number of how many instances?
No, I can't, I do not have the exact number of instances, but all I am saying that the cattle, the large number of cattle, the number is not relevant.
You can't be vague about these things. Sorry, Syed Zafar Islam, at least on this show, you can't be vague about facts.
Srinivas.
You've taken decisions which impact millions of
I'm
jobs,
not being vague.
millions of livelihoods, and so it's not acceptable to come and say I don't have the facts and just say that we all know that it happens at a large scale.
No, I'm not saying the fact. I'm saying that exact number.
What's
exact
the
number of cattle is not relevant. Fact that exact number is not relevant. What is more important, that large number of cattle are being smuggled in to Bangladesh and Nepal. That is more important.
That is an extraordinary thing. Let's just pause for a second to understand what you said. Can I just pause you for a second so everyone else can and our viewers can understand what you said. You said that an exact number is not relevant, but at the same time we know that it is large. That's words fail me. Can I just bring in NG Jaisim, our former member of the Animal Welfare Board? Perhaps he might be able to shed a little more light, because I believe Mr. Jaisim, can I just come back to you, Mr. Jaisim, you were also integral to the drafting of this notification. Sir, could you explain to us the rationale behind it? Because like I said, the reference in the Environment Ministry clarification was to the Supreme Court order, and as we've just pointed out, the Supreme Court order nowhere suggests the need for a nationwide ban on the sale of cattle for slaughter in animal markets.
Right. So just to give you the history of this particular case, this history of the case when we got involved in this was that there was this one animal sacrifice event that was happening in Nepal, and mostly it was buffaloes who were being smuggled out of India in violation.
Buffaloes, sorry, just to clarify, what was being smuggled out of India was mostly buffaloes, is it?
They were buffaloes, yeah. So if you just Google, anybody who's online, if they Google Gadi Mai, you will see the gruesome. There were again, there are estimates of between 500,000. And as in, Srinivas, I am more of a data person than anybody else. And I think everything there, and I agree with your point that there should be numbers. Okay. But many a times, these numbers are all self-reported either by traders or by the government. And it's not like there is a great statistics that is maintained by either the border officials or anybody that would pass any sort of peer review. Okay. But having said that, when we went to Gadi Mai ourselves, we saw roughly that there were at least, at any given point of time, 10 to 20,000 animals that had come into this particular arena, which is in Bariarpur, just across the border, 80% of the catchment, and we did a random sample survey.
I understand that.
They were all coming from India.
Okay, but
we realized that.
But what's the? Okay, sorry, Mr. Jaisima, just to understand that while that may not be in dispute, in fact, it's interesting that you actually say it's buffalo, it's not cow, it's not bull, it's buffalo. But how does that, from there, how does one extrapolate the need to restrict or in fact ban markets from trading in cattle for slaughter?
Let me explain to you. So basically what happened was, as in this case, and initially then what happened was the initial Supreme Court direction was that don't let buffaloes go. Because what these animals were going was buffaloes, because cows don't get sacrificed in temples. It's typically male buffaloes who do get sacrificed, right? Okay. And then this particular committee, after the event of Garimai, where till roughly the government of Nepal put out a figure of 3,000 animals, the government of India put out one particular figure, the temple committee put out a third figure. God knows which figures of this is true, because nobody was counting carcasses there.
All right.
The idea was that there was a whole lot of smuggling, and then what happened is that the Supreme Court clubbed the matter of illegal smuggling of animals from India to Bangladesh with this particular issue. All right. So
okay. I'm still trying to get you to the present, because we're running out of time. We have a lot of other guests. If you could just tell us in a nutshell how this pertains to this ban.
The genesis of the order which came in, the genesis of the original order, in which the original notification that was referred to, the government of Uttarakhand notification that was referred to in the Shastra Simha Bal Committee report, specifically had buffaloes, because the Supreme Court was dealing with buffaloes. And at that particular point of time, the draft rule that we did submit had buffaloes in it, because it was buffaloes who were being transported. Cow was never in the picture. Cow, as a matter of fact, got added post facto when the Bangladesh issue got added. And that's the question really is that what's the genesis of buffalo into this particular case, which is primarily a case that is demanded by cows, and which is kind of...
Okay, but I'm still not getting a clear answer from you as to why that would require for all cattle markets to be banned from selling cattle for slaughter. How would that in any way, what does that have anything to do with the illegal, transportation of buffaloes into Nepal or cows into Bangladesh? And very quickly now, because I really have to move on.
Right. Later on, there was a multiple stakeholder committee that was there, and there was a meeting called of most of the states, including Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh.
Yes, we've reported all that. Yes.
All of these people basically said that it is impossible to kind of manage this current supply chain, because this current supply chain has got illegalities. When trucks are stopped, people start, there is like firing that happens. There is like police officers get killed, and they primarily said that the issue really is that these large cattle markets, which are intermediary markets, purely for it, are the hub of illegal trade. And the solution, and again, it wasn't proposed by us. It was a solution that was proposed by law enforcement.
Okay.
They were like, was that if we kind of just regulate this entire supply chain and make the supply chain connected from the farmers till the end of the slaughterhouse, and if these...
Okay, I've understood. I've understood what you now. I finally understood what you said, that they concluded that these markets are hubs of illegal activity. Though the regulation suggested doesn't say that at all. It just says that make sure that cattle are sold only for legally authorized purposes. Let me now bring in the other panel, because they're all waiting. Let me go to you, Mahuma Moitra of the TMC, as you join us. On the other side of the screen, we have fresh protests going on at IIT Madras, where in fact they had some students who ate beef in protest, and then today a student who did that was badly beaten up. Mahuma Moitra, firstly, are you convinced of these arguments that you've heard from the government? And number two, are you also thinking of a legal challenge to this new law?
The answer to your first question, Vasu, is an emphatic no. The government itself is not convinced. They are trying to take the back route into doing something which the law doesn't allow. There are two very important things we have to remember here. One is there's a breach of constitutional propriety and the very spirit of federalism. In Article 246 of the Constitution, you've got List 7 schedule, where the state has exclusive authority to legislate on this subject. It is not under the purview of the central government. So entry 15, 16, 26 and 27 28 deal with sort of the preservation, protection, and improvement of livestock. They deal with markets and fairs. This is something which is under the purview of the state government. So the centre has absolutely no business to legislate on this. That's the first. The second thing is, if you're talking about the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, can I finish, Vasu, please?
Yeah, I want to come back.
My friend from the BJP, yeah.
Can I just quickly get a response to your first point from Syed Zafar Islam before I quickly move on, that that this is trying to intrude into the legislative authority of states using the back door of animal cruelty laws, Zafar Islam?
Not at all. I think, Srinivas, let me tell my friend from Trinamool Congress spokesperson that this notification was in public domain for more than 30 days for people's comment. Nobody commented it. If at all this was really the case,
actually 13 people did.
What she is speaking today,
three people did. There were only 13 comments, and what is also interesting is that nobody even seems to have known about where this was in the public domain. None of the stakeholders knew.
Srinivas, Srinivas, if these 13 people have commented, then those people who have interest in making this as a concocted statement, story like the way the TMC is making, that there is no such intent of the government. The spirit of this notification, one has to understand, the spirit of this notification is only to regulate the market, only to ensure that the product, the cattle are those who are not for the productive purposes are also regulated, and not for putting a ban on slaughter of cattle.
Okay, Manu Sundaram,
you can source, the slaughterhouses can source, and they can slaughter it for the notification does not talk about
Manu
it.
Sundaram,
to regulate those,
Manu Sundaram, now in Tamil Nadu, of course, there is now this 4-week stay.
Well, the 4-week stay applies for the entire country, and I'm glad the Madras High Court and the Madurai bench have stepped up to the task today, Vasu. But let me also just add something here. I've heard the BJP spokesperson as well as the Animal Welfare Board former member speak, and both of them have spoken about Bangladesh and Nepal, but they have not addressed the very basic question as to how this comes under the prevention of cruelty to animals in India.
Exactly.
And if there is a problem in the borders of India, Nepal, India, Bangladesh, why should the farmer in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and so on suffer?
Yeah.
And most worryingly, Vasu, today what we've seen at the IIT Madras, this what I would call as mainstreaming of vigilantism. You know, you can lynch a person because he might have beef in his fridge. You can harass couples because they are sitting on a park bench and speaking to each other. And today, there's a student of IIT Madras was beaten black and blue because he took part in the festival. I mean, see, universities are supposed to be safe spaces where people are supposed to educate and understand about the world. And this is a sad sort of direction in which we are going in. And let me just add one last point. Mr. Adityanath, Yogi Adityanath, the UP Chief Minister, actually brought the ban on slaughterhouses on April 14th or 15th. Now, Mr. Modi seems to have followed cue and taken onus from Adityanath and done so a month later. So it seems like the UP experiment has now been applied nationally, but it is unconstitutional.
So much that we are not going to be able to have focus. A. Sampath, Lok Sabha MP of the CPM, joining us from Trivandrum. Thanks for waiting patiently. Now, I know that like West Bengal and like Tamil Nadu, Kerala has also come out very, very strongly against this particular ban. As far as you're concerned, you've decided that you're not going to implement it, is it? And what do you make of the point actually that that Syed Zafar Islam said that the notification was up and anyone who wanted to comment on it could have, and you were just simply too late?
Because he might have come to know about the notification only after and whether it was put in public domain or not, only after 23rd of May, after the notification came into, it became published, and we started the discussion.
Right.
And here you see, my opinion is that this notification is anti-democratic, anti-federal, and anti-secular. You see, the Constitution of India in its the Constitution's 7th schedule, and the list 2, that is the state list, and the schedule 11 and the schedule 12. If you go through these schedules, it is very much evident that the government of India is trying to take away the powers of even the panchayats and the municipalities and the state governments.
Right.
It is if the government and the RSS is trying to snatch away my dish from my table, from my kitchen, I am going to fight it tooth and nail. It is my food is my right. My food is my right, and I am not at the mercy of anybody else. You see, the majority of the people in India are non-vegetarians. They are not vegetarians. Majority of the people in the south, they are also non-vegetarians. I mean non-vegetarians.
Okay, let me just take that to Zafar. If I can just take that to Syed Zafar Islam. Syed Zafar Islam, couple of things still remain unclear. We tried to debate this yesterday. We didn't get a clear answer. Maybe you have the ability to shed more light. Number one is that if it's about animal cruelty, then why is it only restricted to cattle? Why only cow, bull, calf, buffalo? Why not all animals?
No, again, I will request you to understand in the right perspective, because the agencies which provide this info to the government, also you have to understand that the government has information more than you have or all of us have. And the government's information, I must tell you briefly.
That can't be an explanation for my question. My question is simply nothing to do with trafficking, because you're not talking of trafficking, you're talking about cruelty. So if it's cruelty, and that's a very worthy cause to espouse animal cruelty, why only these animals? Why not goats? Why not chickens? Why not other animals?
Let me just complete. Let me just complete. If you see the way in what state these cattle are smuggled to those countries, and there are pictures, there are information with the government and agencies that
those
you
are
will see that the limbs are broken. You will see the eyes are out, popping up. They're in such a bad state, and
if it's illegal smuggling, those come under cow protection laws. That has nothing to do with animal cruelty.
No, see, you have to, that's why I said you have to understand in the right perspective. This notification address both the concern. It addressed the cruelty, it addressed the trafficking as well. The smuggling, illegal smuggling also.
All right.
And also the way it has been misled by
Moitra, you want to come in?
And people are trying to mislead the people that we are trying to put a ban on slaughter of cattle.
Your ban as of now, at least, if there are more legal challenges of the kind that we saw from the Madras High Court, the ban appears to be in trouble. Moitra, a last word from you. Do you think that this is essentially at its core a political decision which is being masked in all sorts of legal and technical terms which simply are not adding up?
Of course it is, and you only have to listen to what the BJP spokesperson said a minute ago. And I would really urge him to go back and read the Prevention of Cruelty Act, sir, and I'm speaking to you, is if you see this new regulation, which is the Regulation of Livestock Markets 2017 regulation, it is actually ultra-virus the parent legislation, because the parent legislation of 1960 has a specific exemption which says that it doesn't say anything about the destruction of animals of any kind. It doesn't pick out bovines if it is meant for consumption by mankind. It's section 11(3)(e), which is the specific exemption, and it tells you it should be done with the minimum of pain and suffering, and they also have slaughterhouse rules or the regulations of 2001 which go through the unnecessary pain and suffering. So to use the Prevention of Cruelty Act to come in to say that this prevents slaughter, sir, please read the law first. We are all educated people here. Like Srinivas said, this is not a you said, I said, sir. Please read the law. Please refer to the law.
Okay. I think there will probably be a little more closer study now, we hope, by the government and spokespersons of the finer print of the law which they themselves have brought. We'll have to leave it there. Pictures from Chennai. It's warming up there. Things seem to be getting hot on the campus. We hope that settles down. We'll leave you with those images. That's it on Reality Check. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye. Good night.